Hello and welcome to the fifth video in the SAT Math series. In this video we're going to talk about translating words into algebra, which is an essential skill for standardized tests. If you so choose, you may like the video or subscribe to the channel. Let's begin. Many problems will translate pretty directly. For instance, in this case here it reads, if 16 plus 4x is 10 more than 14. Well, we can formulate that. If 16 plus 4x, and then this is going to be is, of course, 10, and this is going to be more than 14. And then it's just a matter of algebra. We can turn the right side into 24. And then subtract 16 from both sides. 4x is then equal to 8. But do note that we're solving not for x, but for 8x. And then to create 8x, let's multiply both sides by 2. And then we have 8x equals 16. Or answer choice C. They always like to put the value of x here for people that don't read the last part. Okay, let's see another problem like this. It reads, when 4 times the number x is added to 12, the result is 8. What number results when 2 times x is added to 7? So the first line here, it says when 4 times the number x, that would be 4x, is added to 12. So it didn't matter if we did 12 plus 4x or 4x plus 12. The result is 8. Then it asks, what number results when 2 times x is added to 7? Well, we're trying to discover what 2x plus 7 is equal to. Well, we can just solve for x here. In the first equation, subtracting 12 from both sides will give 4x equal to negative 4. So we see that x is equal to negative 1 by dividing both sides by 4. And then we can just compute what 2x plus 7 is, where x is negative 1. And that should be 5. And of course, not all problems directly translate this way. For instance, this problem here reads, a website hosting service charges businessmen a one-time setup fee of $350 plus $D for each month. If a business owner paid $1,010 for the first 12 months, including the setup fee, what is the value of D? And this is actually the equation of a line where the total cost is equal to the setup fee times the number of months plus the flat fee, right? Or we know that after 12 months he paid $1,010. So that was after 12 months times the setup fee plus the original flat fee. And that you need to be comfortable with formulating equations this way. If you multiply the number of months times the cost per month, that will give you that cost, and then you have to add the flat fee, and that should equal the total cost. So if you can formulate it this way, then it's just algebra to finish the problem. For instance, to get D by itself, we're going to want to subtract 350 from both sides. That's going to be 660 is equal to 12D. And then divide by 12. And D is equal to, I'm actually not sure off the top of my head. It's going to be 560. Oh, here we go. 55. Or answer choice D. So we see how important it was to be able to take the text and formulate our equation to solve. Let's look at another that might be a little harder. A gardener buys 2 kinds of fertilizer. Fertilizer A contains 60% filler material by weight, and fertilizer B contains 40% filler material by weight. Together, the fertilizers bought by the gardener contain a total of 240 pounds of filler materials. Which equation models this relationship where x is the number of pounds of fertilizer A and y is the number of pounds of fertilizer B? One thing we'll cover when we cover percentages is this intuition's pretty essential. If you take 100% of something, you just take all of it, or the exact amount of it, right? 100% of 27 is simply 27. And that's the same as multiplying by 1, right? And the relationship between percentages and a decimal, you see there's no percentage here, this is just a decimal, is simply moving the decimal place twice. And intuitively this makes sense. If you multiply something by 1, you get it back, whereas 100% of something is itself. And 0% is nothing, and if you multiply anything by 0, you get none of it, or 0. And then any other number between 0 and 1 will give you a number between the amount and the total amount. And it says 60% of the weight of A is filler material, and so that'll give you a number. If you multiply it by 0.60, that is more than none, less than all, but a little bit more than half, of course. So simply stated, 0.6x, if this is the weight of fertilizer A and 60% of fertilizer A is filler material, then this expression is the amount of filler material in fertilizer A. And we see that if you were to take the amount of filler material in fertilizer A and add it to the amount of filler material in fertilizer B, that should equal the total amount of filler material, which is 240 pounds of filler material. So the correct answer is B. So later on we do have a video dedicated to systems of equations, that is when you have, say, 2 equations and 2 unknowns. But right now we're talking about translating words to algebra, and this is a case where you have a system of equations, but you don't actually have to solve the system of equations. So this problem perhaps belongs here, and then later we'll do systems of equations and solve it all the way through. This problem reads, a software company is selling a new game in a standard edition and a collector's edition. The box for the standard edition has a volume of 20 cubic inches, and the collector's edition has a volume of 30 cubic inches. They receive an order for 75 copies of the game, and the total volume of which the order to be shipped is 1,870 cubic inches. Which of the following systems of equations can be used to determine the total number of standard edition games, and which is going to be S for standard, and then the number of collector's edition games, which will be C for collectors. The first thing we note is that they're going to ship 75 copies, and you kind of would want to formulate that in your, maybe most easily this way. But I don't see S plus C is equal to 75, but we do note that if you were to subtract S from both sides, you would get these 2 equations here. And that would be C is equal to 75 minus S. Okay, so it looks like A and B have correctly stated that fact. These, of course, are wrong because S plus C must equal 75. What is our second fact? That is the total volume to be shipped is 1,870 cubic inches. Well, we can multiply each of the individual volumes. It's 20 for the standard edition. So 20 times the number of standard editions will be the total volume taken up by the standard editions. And if you were to add that to the total volume taken up by the collector editions, that must equal 1,870. So hopefully that makes good sense to you. And it's a very important skill to be able to go from words to algebra, and we're going to be using it throughout the entire course. As we get into more specific problems, they'll be word problems, and you'll have to formulate algebraic equations as well. Okay, that's it for this video. Please feel free to like or subscribe. In the next video, we were going to talk about how to do algebraically adjust inequalities. And then the video after that will be systems of equations. So I will see you then.